So, is there hope for ankylosing spondylitis? Before I give you the answer, 1 second. The one with ankylosing spondylitis is not me, it's actually my dad. But I wanted to find out if there is a way we can counteract ankylosing spondylitis. Because here's the story. I'm 41 this year. When I was 35, I was borderline obese, massively overweight. I was 84 kilos then. I'm actually 67 kilos now. Back when I was 18 or 19, when I enlisted for military, I went for a knee x-ray. It was revealed that I had a bony spur, similar to that of Maria Sharapova. That could be also one of the reasons why, at age 35, it was a huge dread when I tried to play recreational sport 2 or 3 times a week because, like most people, they say my knees were killing me. I had knee pain, I had back pain, and it was a lot of distress. The heart was willing, but the body was weak. Fast forward to right now. I'm doing plyometrics on a very regular basis. I have a full range of motion. I can do deep squats easily like this. I still remember for most of my life, I would always have clicking in one of my knees, especially the right side. But nowadays, I can even get into positions like this with a whole lot of ease. I can even do things like this and move into that position with a whole lot of ease. In fact, it's hard to even imagine that I once ever struggled with these things. Theoretically, the Wolff's Law states that bone adapts to stress. And if my bones could adapt to stress and could even result in a 1-inch height gain, which I've talked about in 2 of my videos that are currently doing quite well on YouTube. And I decided to find out if there is hope for people with ankylosing spondylitis because I would love for my dad to be able to enjoy the remainder of his life in a really good health. I would like to share with you ankylosing spondylitis sufferer that I found on YouTube Shorts. The top comment, that's one hell of a position to be stuck in. More interestingly, according to his doctor, you have a condition called ankylosing spondylitis. Within 10 years, you will be disabled and your spine will become rigid. He just went on ahead to debunk the myth. My dad once had dreams of becoming a professional rally driver, but unfortunately his condition prevented him from doing that. My dad was also very good at table tennis. And to this day, he still gets some very mean points off me. My dad has limited capacity to breathe from his chest area, and therefore he has to compensate by breathing from his diaphragm. He's got very strong diaphragm muscles. At the age of 71, he still can walk around for regular distances and still play light sports from time to time. However, he also has been on painkillers for years. I recently also came across an Instagram post where this guy was interviewing, "Hey, you look kinda jacked, so tell me what you do for your fitness routine." He approached someone who goes on Instagram by Fit Old Boy and his son, who is 41. Him and his son, like 71 and 41, exactly the same age as my dad and myself. Therefore, I thought it'd be kind of cool if my dad could do that too, or at least half of that. I decided to ask DeepSeek. DeepSeek, by the way, is another AI chat model that is better than ChatGPT because the answers are more concise and accurate. Although the server times may be a bit slow, but you won't regret the answers that it gives you. What I did was that I described my story and how I'm the best shape of my life right now. I also pointed out that I gained 1 inch in height in the last 1 year and that my feet actually went up half a size. So with all this, I wanted to find out if there is hope for my dad to return to peak fitness. I found out a few things which I'm going to be summarizing over here for you as well. It depends on the severity and progression of ankylosing spondylitis. It pointed out that depending on what is the structural damage, how is the spinal fusion, this could affect how things could come along for him. Obviously, if he's been sedentary, a gradual and intelligent approach can rebuild strength and mobility. AS tends to cause stiffness and postural changes. Targeted exercise can mitigate this. Actually, I want to scroll all the way down to the end of the response to what it gave me. Movement equals medicine. But stay on because there's more. DeepSeek also suggested that he should do a lot of mobility and flexibility work, like daily spinal extension exercises like the cat-cow, the prone back extensions to counteract AS tendency to hunch. to do thoracic rotation drills to maintain spinal mobility, to do hip mobility work as well because AS often affects the hips. And then for strength training, he should be focusing on deadlifts, rows, and glute bridges if it can be handled, and to strengthen the back and the hips. He should also do core stability work such as planks, pull-off presses to support the spine. He should do bodyweight squats and lunges as well, but very progressively. For example, if you cannot do a full squat, start with half squats. Plyometrics is something that he probably want to embark on only later on after he builds up a strong foundation. In the meantime, he will also want to embark on an anti-inflammatory lifestyle, such as the diet should include a lot of omega-3s, turmeric, low processed sugar, because sugar causes inflammation and AS is an inflammation response. Of course, it did say go consult a rheumatoid specialist, but rheumatoid specialists in Asia especially only going to prescribe you more medicine instead of doing exercise. So fuck that. Some of you perhaps also have parents or relatives or loved ones that have ankylosing spondylitis. So some of you watching this video are watching it for yourself. Some of you are watching it for someone that you love. So for example, my dad is one of my most important figure in my life. Therefore, I want him to be well, right? So I then asked, is it safe to do these exercises? Because if the AS is fusing the spine, how's he going to do all these the cat-cow kind of things to the back? Is that going to be safe to do? Of course, what I really wanted to know is that if I could remodel my knee and if I could even lengthen my shins through all this heavy plyometric work, sprinting and all this other stuff that I've been doing, is there a possibility at the back of my head? Because I know that, there's a fusion of the vertebrae, right? So can the vertebrae be possibly unfused? Can we break away these spurs and whatever bit by bit, like how I mold off the irregularity within my knees by the stuff that I do? In a short summary, ankylosing spondylitis is an inflammatory arthritis that primarily affects the spine and the sacroiliac joints, is where the spine meets the pelvis. So over time, this chronic inflammation can lead to bone remodeling. It's not a good remodeling. It's one where the ligaments and vertebrae may fuse together, causing stiffness and reduced mobility. Seeing this AS guy doing that is a huge encouragement. So it leads me to want to ask, what is possible then? Key characteristics of AS is inflammations, pain and stiffness, like my dad's been on painkillers, right? And there's a potential fusion. So this is the ankylosis. That is what it is called, the ankylosis. So in advanced cases, it says new bone forms between vertebrae and that limits movement. And there will be postural changes and it can cause a forward hunch posture, which my dad has a little bit of that. So I actually make fun of my youngest daughter. It's not like you have some spinal condition. Why are you trying to walk like your granddad? And of course, there'll be flare-ups and remissions. My mom told me that at one point, my dad had huge flare-up and he had to spend a short period of time in a wheelchair. So DeepSeek, what it had to say in regards to, is it safe for him to do spinal exercises? Well, it depends, because the exercises have to be pain-free, they have to be controlled, and they have to adapt to his current mobility. This is a very, very hopeful response for me because, like I said, I began with half squats. I did half squats with my kettlebell, and then I did full squats with my kettlebell, and I did deep squats with my kettlebell and came all the way up. And over a period of time, these became like the new normal for me, and it became kind of easy. As here, if the spine has no fusion yet, the cat-cow is still safe. The alternative is to do gentle pelvic tilts while standing or sitting. I think sitting is easier. You sit on the edge of your seat, right? You put your elbows on your hips and you're going to round your back, and you want to overextend it by bringing it outward in and out as much as you can manage. This exercise is to counteract hunching or kyphosis. So if you heard of a technical word, kyphosis actually means hunching, same thing. Something you might also want to do is seated rotations. So let's say I'm here in my seat. It also can be done by carrying some weight. So here's my daughter's laptop. not that it's very heavy. Depending on the condition of the spine and the fusion, when it comes to doing weights, it's a better idea or even a permanent idea to stick with the machines, because the machines have a controlled range of motion. It's easier to target certain areas. But of course, depending on the progression, or let's say, any of you has been able to counteract the progression of the AS, then free weights is obviously the way to go, because free weights strengthen a lot of things at the same time. For me, my six-pack showed up only because I've been doing a lot of calisthenics. Yeah, I get it. Rehab and continual maintenance, that is like management. But what about improvement, right? Because we really want to know if the same principles that enabled me to have a full range of motion, no more knee clicking, in fact able to train 11-12 times a week in various sports and exercise, can the same thing happen for my dad? If AS is like remodeling and I was able to remodel myself, lengthen my height, can he do the same things too? Here's something interesting. Wolff's Law that I mentioned, right? Plyometrics and high impact loading can stimulate bone remodeling because bone adapts to stress by reorganizing its structure. In terms of my kneecaps, the improved tracking of the kneecap is due to strengthening the VMO, the inner quad muscle, and stretching tight structures like iliotibial bands. This can optimize the path alignment and reduce clicking. Furthermore, there is cartilage adaptation and loading. All the jumping that I do can improve cartilage health because studies show that controlled impact can thicken the articular cartilage over time. So if all that happened for me, can the same happen for my dad? Can it unfuse AS? Short answer, no. Because if the vertebrae are fully fused or ankylosed, the bone bridge is permanent. However, even with fusion can mobilize the non-fused joints to increase the range of motion so that there can be overcompensation. Through regular training and adaptation, the overcompensation doesn't necessarily have to be strenuous at all. In fact, it can feel natural. And through overall training, by developing more muscle tissues, this can be a very functional fitness because just as in my height gain video, when I talked about how I use traction to kind of extend, relax, and expand my spine to increase the spaces in my vertebrae. When I get off from there, I start to feel a tenderness. But then on, as I increase my musculature around the area, I'm able to no longer feel the tenderness. So it's like we stretch, we strengthen, we stretch, we strengthen, we stretch, we strengthen. Damn it, the tenderness is coming in. Here's something big, alright? Could early age AS be slowed or halted? Short answer, yes. If fusion isn't complete, aggressive mobility plus anti-inflammatory measures like exercise, diet, may delay or prevent further fusion. Studies show that regular movement, especially in extension and rotation, helps maintain spinal flexibility in early AS. Now, coming back to my main inquiry, how can microfracturing work for AS? So it says bone remodeling in AS is different. Inflammatory bone growth is pathological, not adaptive, based on knee's response to plyometrics. Loading will not reverse fusion, but weight-bearing exercise can strengthen surrounding bone and stimulate non-fused areas to stay mobile. Now, finally, I decided to ask, is there any new school hopeful info that you can provide? New school hopeful info. Biological drugs and beyond. Alright, so current gold standard is TNF-alpha inhibitors. There's something called Humira, Enbrel, and there are IL-17 blockers called Cosentyx. This dramatically reduces inflammation and this halts progression in 70% of patients. There are next-gen drugs in trial phase, and these are the JAK inhibitors, IL-23 blockers, and stem cell therapy. We mentioned this earlier, and we're going to mention it again, the Wolff's Law. And one of the reasons why it says that if you aggressively exercise, so you aggressively try to mobilize your joints, you can actually manage and prevent the increase of the AS condition is because animal studies show that mechanical strain can influence bone formation in spondylitis. In other words, it can prevent ankylosing, can slow and prevent abnormal bone growth. Movement is medicine. Some other things, like BPC 157. It's a healing peptide. In animal studies, it is shown to accelerate tendon and bone repair. So this would help AS sufferers with pain and stiffness. There is a TB500, thymosin beta 4. It promotes tissue repair. Same function, also repair, right? And pain management. Vitamin K2 and D3. These help to regulate bone metabolism because AS patients usually have dysregulated bone formation. The next topic is something that I feel very much for because I'm 41 and I look and feel a lot younger than I was when I was 35. A lot of it, aside from my exercise, also has to do with my diet changes as well. So I practice intermittent fasting. And in fact, on some days, if I want to go for a heavy food binge at a buffet, I will fast for the 24 hours afterward. That means I finish lunch today, I next eat only lunch tomorrow. Fasting, autophagy, and cellular cleanup. Autophagy is the body's natural recycling of the damaged cells. So when you have nothing to feed on, you feed on those lousier cells. So it's actually for your benefit, all right, to shorten your eating hours within the day. That way you can have a longer time for autophagy to take effect inside of your body. I have been educating and re-educating my parents, especially my dad, to try to have lunch as late as possible. I also been sharing videos to my parents. It has been revealed that this whole thing about morning cereal, morning oats is all just a marketing ploy since the Industrial Revolution started. It was nothing but a campaign to get some manufacturers additional profit by creating a lifestyle habit that never was needed before. Autophagy in fasting and keto diets. Remember earlier I mentioned about the IF-17 and the IF-23 blockers, right? Increasing the amount of time between the last meal of the day and the first meal of the next day also has been demonstrated to lower the IF-17 and IF-23 levels. Sorry, I just have to speak a bit louder because it's freaking pouring buckets. So there is also some ongoing stem cell research. Stem cells that are being engineered, once integrated, may in the future be able to tell the surrounding cells to stop ankylosing. In the final summary, fusion cannot be reversed or be undone, but it can be stopped. I also like this part where it says that new drugs and regenerative medicine could make AS a manageable condition like diabetes in the next decade. But ultimately, the best weapon is still staying active, staying hopeful, and attacking inflammation from all angles. My channel, Inspire at Random, I mainly cover manifestation. And I like this part where it says staying hopeful. Because as long as you have hope, as long as you can picture what a healthier, higher quality of life version of yourself looks like, you can definitely find ways and means that will help you to achieve that. I don't think anything is absolutely impossible. Of course, I'd also love to hear from AS sufferers out there who have been actively trying to find solutions to get the most life quality out of your condition. I'd love to hear some of your findings and what you think about what DeepSeek has to say in the comments down below. For another great video, watch this one over here.